In this day and age, we hear so much about people, especially women, feeling like they aren't good enough, smart enough, or pretty enough. Feelings of not being good enough can impact not only our professional work life, but our personal relationships as well. Knowing your core identity and consequently your place in the world around you can be life-changing, and it can help give you power you didn't know you had. My guest today has helped thousands of people discover their core identity and with it, the value in life they have coming to them. Hi, and welcome to Coffee with Claire. As you regular viewers and listeners know, we're always meeting and talking with business leaders, entrepreneurs, and those who like to give back and, of course, have fun. My guest today is Dr. Edward Lewellen. Dr. Ed is a certified master executive coach, master NLP practitioner, master life coach, and has an MBA in management and an honorary Doctor of Divinity degree. A best-selling author, he has been a CEO, COO, president, senior VP, and senior pastor in both corporate and religious organizations. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Edward Lewellen.
Good morning, Claire.
I am so glad that you are here.
I'm so glad to be here.
So, before we got started, you did a little bit of a relaxation technique with me just to kind of get me out of my head, out of the, traffic pattern that I came across this morning, and just help me get really centered and confident about today. So, that experience is amazing because in a very short amount of time, Ed is able to help you get out of that really negative pattern and into a very powerful position. So you do this all the time with everyone that you work with, right?
Yeah, because we all create our inner and outer reality with the way we think. And so many times all it is just a matter of what I call a little tweak. And we can change that and excuse me, and just make a huge difference because for instance, thinking how bad traffic was and feeling like, oh no, I'm going to be late, having all these worries, fears, and doubts going on, and changing that to I'm here, I'm relaxed, and I'm ready to go can literally take, like you experienced, 2 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't take very long at all, and it made me feel just a lot more calm to where I'm ready to face the day. And I think that a lot of people get caught up in that kind of anxiety we're hit with so many different things all day long. Technology makes us need to think faster and respond faster. We don't have time to really think things through because people want instantaneous results and things like that. And and women feel like that they have to do everything. We always feel like we have to be good moms, we have to be good employees, we have to take care of our parents, we have to take care of the kids, our husbands, and so we just kind of get caught up in this. It feels like just a rat race. And when you don't measure up to those expectations that you've placed on yourself, nobody else is saying, hey, you're not, getting this right or whatever. It's more like, I really wish I could keep up with everything. We start doubting ourselves. And, it's like, God, why am I not good enough to take care of this? Why am I failing? And we're really not failing. It's just that we got to, we have to change our mindset. So I really am excited about this topic of conversation because I run into so many women that, are in that that conundrum of I'm just not good enough. I see this woman across the desk from me, and she's so pretty, and I'm not pretty enough to be able to hang with her. Or I see this woman across the table that's so confident. I don't feel confident. How am I going to work for this person? So, how did you decide that this topic is something that you wanted to bring to the world?
Well, because it's already out there, just like you said.
Well, yeah.
I mean, so much of the time, that's what I hear. And, and so much, we hear it from women a lot. And because of some of the groups that I am associated with that are women-oriented, but men also have the same issues. They just don't talk about it as much. In fact, there's this, instead of saying, like you were expressing, why aren't I good enough and so forth?
Yeah.
It's usually, man, how am I going to figure this out? How am I?
Oh, as a man?
Yeah.
Okay.
How am I going to get this done? Because I'm not, they may not say I'm not good enough. They may say things like, I've never done this before. I'm not trained in this. Mm-hmm. I'm not smart enough. They have other ways of expressing it rather than saying they're not good enough.
So men and women both have this sense of insecurity that can make a huge difference in how they show up, and really to the detriment of how they really want to perform.
Right.
So when we're showing up and we're not feeling confident, but we have to feel like we are confident, is that where you come across the term that you've spoken about, which is the imposter syndrome? Tell me what that means.
So imposter syndrome has to do with, let's say we've got a person, we'll call her Jane, and Jane is number one salesperson. Mm-hmm. She's knowing that she's got a chance for promotion. She's got all these things that are going for her. Home is immaculate. She dresses immaculate. Kids are always well behaved. All these things. But underneath all that, Jane's thought process, her belief system is saying, I hope nobody finds out who I really am. Because I'm not really this person.
Yeah.
This is who I'm portraying, but underneath it all, I'm scared, I'm vulnerable, I've got these issues I've dealt with since I was a kid. All these things are going on within her mind, and she's just hoping that she doesn't do something that reveals that she's an imposter, that she's playing a role that isn't really her.
And so that underlying fear that is just, I guess it's really kind of pretty close to the surface, really. Mm-hmm. Does it ever, okay, she's got this perfect, scenario going on outwardly. What does it take for that veneer to break?
Not very much. And it's usually self-imposed. Excuse me. Usually what happens is she slips and she makes a mistake, and then all of a sudden, in her mind, her whole world comes tumbling down. So it's usually because other people, it's kind of like you were describing before, they look at her and they go, wow, she's
amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. She's got it all together.
Yeah.
And so if she makes a mistake, it's not like all of a sudden she's fallen from grace. It's like, oh, well, she made a mistake.
Oh, well, she's kind of human.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can relate to her a little bit more now.
But in her mind, she has fallen from grace. She's been toppled from this grandiose place where she thinks she's been.
Yeah, and so that inner working, that mindset that she is, like you said, self-imposing onto herself, is actually tearing her down way more than anybody around her is even thinking about. Yep. So it's really, she's her own worst enemy.
Yep.
And
what's so interesting about all that is that all that comes from a belief system that was installed in her when she was growing up.
Yeah. So that little 4-year-old it comes up and it's like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared.
Well, and you know, parents only do what they know.
Absolutely.
And we don't get a manual. You've heard that before. You know, when you have a kid, you don't get a manual that says, here's how you train children.
Oh yeah, that's chapter 4.
So what parents do is usually pass on what they've been taught, you know, from great-grandparents, you know, grandparents, parents, and so forth. So little Jane, she, you know, she does something, you know, she breaks the lamp.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you know, mom or dad, because they're angry now, because she's broken this lamp.
We just bought it. It's brand new. We can't afford another lamp.
And so here they're looking at that little Jane and they say, "You're worthless. You should never have done that.
Right.
You know, you are a terrible person because you did this." And you know, it doesn't have to be a lamp; it could be so many other things.
Sure.
But they tell a child that, and up until about 8 or 9 years old, there's a part of the brain that has not formed yet. It's called the temporal parietal junction. That's the thing that divides off, where it helps you evaluate information coming in versus allowing information just to come in and to be believed. So as a child, until you're about 8 or 9, as soon as a parent, you know, especially anybody that's an authority figure says something, it just, boom, goes right into the subconscious mind and becomes a belief. So when they're that young and they're told they're worthless, they're valueless, they don't deserve, you know, of course, one of the big things is you don't deserve it unless or until.
Oh, okay.
And so that, you know, that's huge, because now every time that we want something, we think we have to do something to deserve it.
Aha.
But here's what, when I work with my clients, here's a huge point for them. You deserve it just because you're you.
Whoa. That messes with their belief system.
And because everyone is intrinsically valuable.
Absolutely.
And that's where the whole core identity comes in, is, you know, when you know that and you believe it, you deserve everything.
Yeah.
Oh, everything good.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's make it a real positive thing here.
Yeah. So now it's not a matter of, do you deserve, you know, $1 million, the promotion, the great spouse, the great kid. It's not a matter of you have to work this hard in order to deserve it. You deserve it because you are you.
Wow, that's a huge paradigm shift for a lot of people.
It is.
And you've worked with some really powerful people. I mean, you've worked with people that, especially women, that are a part of Barron's Top 100, right, and executives of huge organizations, and some who even own their own financial advisory practices. So you have discovered that there are 4 common traits amongst all of them that kind of run through those belief systems. So what are those 4 common traits that you've discovered?
So I got invited to be part of this group called Females in Finance about a year ago.
Females in Finance, that sounds very powerful already.
Yeah, Cheryl Brown up in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, is the founder of it. Okay. It's over 2,000 women that are in this organization. And I'm one of the, what they call MAN, M-A-N. So it's a Male Ally Network.
Oh, MAM, got it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And so before I got associated with it, I wanted to do some research. So I looked into... Of course you
did. That's what you do.
I looked into this website called Investment News.
Okay.
And I found women that are part of Barron's Top 100, which is a very elite group of people. So I reached out to them by LinkedIn.
Okay.
And asked to interview. Of course, some didn't reply, some turned me down, but about 10 said yes.
Okay.
And so as I interviewed them, I wanted to find out, how did they become so successful? What were some of the bridges that they had to build in order to get to where they were. Excuse me. So here are the 4 things. They said, first thing was, can they belong to the boys club?
Okay.
So financial services is a very male-dominated industry. All the training, all the advertising, everything is directed towards male advisors and towards male investors.
Oh, interesting.
So females in finance is trying to redirect that. So because by next year, women will own 67% of all private wealth here in the United States.
Wow.
So, and they want to do business with women advisors. So there's a big push to make a change. So these women totally, they first of all, they doubted themselves being able to play in this game with the boys. The second thing was, they said they had to work several times harder in order to prove themselves. So here they are, let's say the male counterpart, spends, 10 hours a day working, they'd spend 15. They said they had to know all the answers. They didn't want to ever be in a setting where they were asked a question by their broker or a fellow financial advisor and not know the answer because they felt like that would take away from their credibility.
Okay.
And then lastly, they felt like they had to divest themselves of their emotions so they could be more male-like as they dealt within the industry and with investors.
Wow. So they had to prepare twice as much.
At least.
At least. They had to feel confident enough to be in a man's world, and they had to start thinking differently than they are programmed.
And here's the interesting thing. To the person, they told me it took them 10 years to get over those 4 issues.
Wow. That's a long time.
It is. And so as I've worked with them,
yeah,
I have created a process where I can help them get over those within 30 days.
Rather than 10 years.
Rather than 10 years.
That's amazing.
It is.
And so are you working strictly with those folks, or do you have a diverse population of people that you work with as well?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Okay. The short answer, Claire, is yes. So, I think sometimes, and I have experienced this myself, it's like, what's the difference between feeling good about yourself and arrogance? Because I don't want to come across like, it's my way or hit the highway and all that stuff. But at the same time, I do want to project that I'm confident because I have earned the right. I know my stuff. I've got this down. So how can you help me get through that difference?
Well, the difference comes back to the core identity, which I'm sure we'll talk about here. But when a person is, well, let me back up. Arrogance is usually a sign of weakness. So it's usually a person who is weak. They're vulnerable. They know they're vulnerable, and so they're putting on this facade so that somebody doesn't run over them.
Yeah.
A person who's really confident is able to sit there and, if someone challenges them, they don't have a problem with that because, okay, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah, okay, I see the difference. Yeah, and it's really a different energy.
Yep.
So yeah, let's get into the core identity thing. So how do people learn about their core identity?
Well, and you've been through the exercise, so you're familiar with the process. So what I do is I just take them through a very simple exercise of divesting themselves of all the roles they play in life. So they're not a mom or dad, they're not a sister or brother, daughter, son, parent, athlete, employer, employee. They have absolutely no roles. And it's always amazing to me when I ask them then to describe themselves with 4 to 6 one-word adjectives, how they kind of go.
And I actually brought mine.
Because it's a mind shift because I'd say 99.9% of the clients I work with don't know who they are in their core identity.
Yeah, it's a really powerful exercise because it does make you get out of all of these, I don't know, I guess the word you use is identities, and just kind of figure out who am I inside. And so mine were empathy, happy, fun, insatiable curiosity, excitement, and health. And when I thought of these, it was like, oh, yeah, they don't have any labels to it. They're just me. And so let's also educate the audience on the power of knowing core identities.
Okay. Let's talk about roles first.
Sure.
So when you're always living in roles, roles are meant to be flexible, fluid. So let's say one of the most important roles that people usually play is that of a parent.
Yes.
But it's always changing.
Absolutely.
From the time that the wife finds out that she's pregnant, that changes everything, boom, right then and there. It's born, it's a year old, blah, blah, grows up. Constant change. That's a role that is, you'll never find stability in, because you can't treat a 18-year-old the same as you do a 1-year-old.
Right.
So your job is the same way, constantly changing. So when people live in those things, they believe that's who they are. For instance, I've spoken to quite a few of the groups in the Dallas Metroplex that are the in transition groups. Mm-hmm. And because they've associated who they are with their job so much, when they lose that, they go into depression. They, have thoughts of suicide. They, because the job didn't go away. The person was told to go away.
Yeah.
And that's very disempowering.
Right.
It can cause a lot of trauma to a person. So just the opposite happens when you know your core identity, because guess what?
What?
No one can ever fire you from being you.
I like that.
You can never, no one can ever say you're a bad you.
Yeah.
Because you're you. Yeah. And when you know who that person is, that's a source of stability that you'll not find anyplace else.
Right.
And so just like you've told me before, using yours, you've used it in a number of ways so that you can see it shortcuts a lot of the decision-making process, because when someone in your life either matches or doesn't match, you can tell whether they're a good fit for who you are. Right,
yeah, because, if it doesn't fit in these things that I've identified with myself, then it's not a good fit. Yeah. And it just, why waste my time on it? It's just not worth it anymore. So, well, Ed, I know that there's so much more that we could talk about. We'll have to have you come back and continue our conversation. But let the audience know how they can get a hold of you and find out more about you, your company, and what you do and how you can help them.
Sure. So the website is trance-think.com. My email is ed@trance-think.com. My phone number is 972-900-9207. So those are 3 ways that you can get in touch with me and find out more.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ed, for being here again with Coffee with Claire. We always enjoy having you here. And thanks to our listeners and our viewers. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. See you next time on Coffee with Claire. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Coffee with Claire. To learn more about today's guests, visit their website or find them on Facebook. To learn more about me, Claire Billingsley, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at coffeewithclaire.tv. And to hear more episodes of Coffee with Claire, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast and social media platforms.